Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of CSA Security Update. I am your host, John DiMaria, and today we have a really interesting topic here. You know, the rapid integration of artificial intelligence into the cloud environments really presents a new governance, risk, and compliance challenges that traditional frameworks like ISO 27001 and others do not fully address. ISO 42001 is the international standard for artificial intelligence management system and provides a structured, auditable approach to responsible AI governance, which really enables organizations to operationalize AI risk management while ensuring compliance and accountability. And today, who better to join us than Tanya Tandon? She is the Senior Risk Auditor for Viso Trust. She's a seasoned cybersecurity leader and ISO 42001 Lead Auditor. Tanya has over 10 years experience in information security and holds a master's degree in information and cybersecurity and is a certified ethical hacker and has contributed to CSA research as a volunteer and author of the software-defined perimeter. She has extensive experience in risk auditing and third-party risk management, with the focus on integrating emerging technologies like AI into secure and compliant frameworks. So, Tanya, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, fantastic. This is going to be a really interesting conversation. I can't wait to get into it. We have quite a diverse audience of people, so I always try to make sure that we get you introduced properly. Maybe just give us a quick overview of who Tanya is and what does Viso Trust do?
Sure. Thank you for the great introduction. So, John, you described, I have around a decade of experience in information security now, and my specialty is in risk auditing, third-party risk management. Started my career with the SIM specialist, and now I'm here in the world of AI, where I'm much more concerned about AI and other emerging technologies. I'm all about integrating new technologies into secure, compliant frameworks. And then if I talk about Viso Trust, that's my current organization. And Viso Trust is completely focused on transforming TPRM using AI. So it's an AI platform. And the core idea is that the old way of managing vendor risk, sending out long questionnaires, waiting weeks for manual review, is broken. We use proprietary AI to analyze vendor security documents and review them.
Okay, fantastic. Fantastic. Well, you know, you have such a wide range of experiences, and I really like people that have been in implementation and cybersecurity, ethical hacking, and now lead auditor, which, I mean, that really rounds out, good rounding of an individual with a lot of good experience has seen all different sides of it, of GRC particularly. And I want to touch a little bit on the GRC challenges that this brings. I know you've worked extensively in information security, risk auditing, and now, of course, AI governance. So I guess, maybe you could just sort of explain from your perspective, what are the challenges that AI introduces that traditional frameworks like 27001 don't really quite address?
Okay, so that's actually $1 million question that every board, every CISO, and every AI developer needs to grapple with. So if I were to sum it up, it's about the shift from securing container to governing the contents. So traditional frameworks like ISO 27001 are our bedrock. So they are fantastic at securing the container, cloud infrastructure, your network integrity of data storage. They make sure servers are patched, data is encrypted, access controls are tight. But when we talk about AI, we are talking about an intelligence inside the container, which makes it independent, non-deterministic decisions. So as an auditor, I look for predictability. In traditional software, the code is deterministic. If I input A, I always get a B. But AI is probabilistic in nature. The minute you move into machine learning, you introduce emergent behaviors, basically outputs or decisions that weren't explicitly coded or anticipated by the developers. So even the recent research paper from ISACA 2025 on implementing this EU AI Act with ISO 42001, it explicitly notes that traditional security controls struggle precisely with these emergent behaviors. So Yeah,
Yeah.
that is.
Yeah, I can see that, especially AI now. We're talking about AI agents, things like this. A whole different approach. It's a whole different set of issues that people have to deal with, especially from safety perspective as well. And um, in terms of 42001, which there's quite a bit of uptake on it, but it's still new. Organizations are just now hearing about it for the first time. So maybe you can describe for everyone you know what an artificial intelligent management system is, and what problems it's designed to solve.
Yeah, so basically, you went right to the heart of what modern organizations are dealing with. If we look into ISO 42001 through a research lens, AIMS is essentially like world's first, one of the very first certifiable, globally recognized management standard specifically designed for AI. So it's not just a checklist of controls, it is, as the research papers define, it's like a comprehensive framework for the governance, for implementation, maintenance, and continual improvement of AI systems. So it's built on the successful plan, do, check, act model as standards like ISO 27001 are made, but with a crucial focus on the risks unique to AI. The problem it's designed to solve is the crisis of inconsistency. AIMS is fundamentally designed to solve, I think, three major problems that are currently AIMS is designed to solve probably the three major problems that are currently endemic to AI adoption in the enterprise. So one I would think of is lack of auditable governance and accountability. AI projects are developed in departmental silos. This results in like fragmented ownership with unclear responsibility when things go wrong. Basically, the AIM is standardized roles, responsibilities, decision making, authority across the entire organization. AIMS standardizes these roles. And second, I would say, is the inconsistency of AI risk management. Unlike traditional IT system, AI model's behavior is dynamic. It can drift. It can exhibit emergent bias. Now, the AIMS provides a repeatable and scalable framework for embedding fairness, transparency, accountability across the AI lifecycle. So this includes like quite mandatory steps as well, like AI impact assessments, AI risk assessments. The third I would call out is the need for measurable trust and compliance. Like in the word of rapidly evolving regulations, we have EU AI Act and a lot other acts. Organizations face a rising demand from customers, regulators, and partners for like verifiable proof that their AI is safe and fair. So AIMS also forces AI development into same maturity expectations as other mission critical enterprise system. For GRC teams, this is the biggest win. It requires uniform evidence across lifecycle, data provenance and model training logs to deployment performance monitoring. So I think achieving this certification is a demonstration of an organization's commitment to responsible AI.
Yeah, and speaking of certification, there's organizations, as you know, have many standards. I know organizations that are certified to 10 different standards. And so this begs the whole issue, and it's an age-old issue, not necessarily specific to 42001, but it's about understanding, how do I weave this into my current culture as an organization? How do I integrate this into what I already have? Because some people get the perception that I'm implementing 42001, all of a sudden this is a whole new management system process for me, and I think that they sort of missed they sort of missed the opportunity to actually more or less embellish upon the current controls they have. And so they sort of struggle with implementation. They feel like it's a huge lift for them. So, one of the things we've talked about in our communications is about duplicate processes. And so it begs the question, what are the most effective ways that organizations, how do they go about mapping 42001 requirements into their existing GRC framework without, sort of reinventing the wheel, as they say, from that perspective of things?
Yeah, so it's a great question. Basically, I come across this question quite often, especially with the current organization that I am in. So the key insight from the industry is like the standard should be designed to be integrated, not isolated. So the goal here, I understand, is to treat AI as a new high-risk asset class within the existing GRC's infrastructure, not to like build a completely separate governance world. So I would say the most effective strategies for like harmonizing ISO 42001 requirements with existing cloud GRC frameworks uh, would be like the foundational management clauses of ISO 42001, like context of the organization, leadership planning. They are structurally identical to those in standards in such as like ISO 27001, ISMS, and ISO 27701 PIMS. So I would say leverage the mapping capabilities of the platform, basically GRC, to perform a clause to control crosswalk that AI GRC platforms, such as basically I can call out Viso Trust in that sense. It helps map the framework requirement against the controls, existing controls. Second point I would say is integrate AI risk into enterprise risk register. AI risks such as algorithmic bias, model drift, security vulnerabilities like adversarial attacks. They are often tracked separately, leading to fragmented view of enterprise risk. So do not create a standalone AI risk framework. Embed AI risk into their treatment plans, into the existing enterprise risk register, risk appetite framework. The standards approach to AI management explicitly, like it builds upon control frameworks that many organizations already have in place. So this will ensure AI risk is viewed at the strategic level alongside traditional IT operational risks. So the goal is alignment. AI should appear as other governed asset class within the existing framework, not a separate governance word.
Yeah, excellent, excellent. Yeah, I'm a big proponent of that. And risk is risk, right? I mean, people sometimes try to separate that, but if you're using AI and that becomes a risk, then what are the controls I need to mitigate that risk? And of course, 42001 fits into that. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the fact that, the CSA AICM, we actually had that crosswalk in there. We actually mapped the controls to 42001, 27001, and actually give you that crosswalk of what are the deltas. And so you can actually just work on those deltas rather than, implementing a whole new control that you may already have in place. So yeah, I think that's the basics of information security apply here. But when it comes to AI, I'm also a big proponent of accountability and ownership, because I think the accountability specifically is really critical, because there's so many of employees out there using AI. And so, I think you've highlighted in our previous conversations the importance of accountable AI ownership. And so, maybe you can give us a little bit from your experience, what does the AI responsibility, how does that typically break down? And what would in your eyes, what would what would a strong ownership look like in practice?
So I see AI responsibility typically breaking down in three critical areas. I like to call it triple A failure, ambiguity, silos, and algorithmic black box. So, ambiguity of ownership is what I'm talking about. Responsibility is often assigned to a team like data science rather than a specific accountable role. When AI systems fail, say a biased hiring model, the team blame somebody between the developer and the data provider and the business user. So there's some ambiguity there. Then the algorithmic black box, I would say modern AI models are complex. Their decision making can be opaque. So if, let's say, a harmful decision is made, organizations lack the traceability, the documented audit trail to show who approved the data, which model version was running, and why the decision was made. No proof, no accountability. Then I would say siloed governance. By that, I mean AI risk and compliance are treated as a technical checkbox after the model is built instead of being integrated from the start. So there are teams that can get involved, especially GRC teams, they get involved too late to impose effective controls. So these are the typical breakdowns that I would highlight. Then the robust ownership model is built on the principle of governance by design, establishing clear, auditable lines of responsibility across AI lifecycle. Accountability must start at the top, the executive mandate. Organizations need a senior executive or an empowered steering committee who is mandated to enforce policy, minimize the risk of fragmented ownership. Then role-based accountability. Also the built-in check-in points like responsibilities enforced through workflow controls. ML ops pipeline must include like mandatory auditable gates where a designated human role like the risk lead must review and formally sign off on the bias testing and risk mitigation before the model can be deployed. So yeah.
Yeah, great. And just to back up a little bit when it comes to risk, 42001 touches on adversarial robustness, data quality, and model provenance. We're talking about the implementation. What are some of the practical steps that an organization should take to embed these controls into their sort of ML ops pipelines?
So yeah, interesting question. So the ML ops pipeline is the new control environment, and the ultimate goal for GRC is automated, reliable evidence generation. So essential technical controls and the evidence they generate, I would say first one is adversarial robustness, basically the automated stress test. Um, Embed automated red teaming in your pipeline. Tools automatically generate adversarial inputs to stress test the model's resilience on every build. Then auditor's evidence. The pipeline generates a robust report and enforces guardrail thresholds. If robustness drops below the set threshold, the build automatically fails. So these kind of safe models should be there. Then data quality, basically implement data validation hooks at the start of the pipeline that can automate checks for data quality, critical bias detection, also maybe a data quality scorecard or lineage logs can be produced. Then I would say model preservance, then basically enforce a centralized model registry for strict artifact cataloging. The pipeline automatically registers the exact code, parameters, data references, and dependencies for every model version. Auditor's evidence can be like the registry is the source of truth for the model card. This trail should record every deployment authorization version change and who signed it off. So these steps transform your ML ops pipeline into a robust, I believe, AIMS, where compliance is an automated output, not a manual effort.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, I could talk data quality for much longer. That's one of my topics that I love to talk about, data quality, because people don't put enough emphasis on the not only the quality but the ownership, the perspective of things. So it's a great conversation to have. So we've talked about the 42001. We've talked about challenges that you have mapping and the risk perspective of things. Now in our journey, we start thinking about preparing for certification, and that third-party audit and also third-party risk management, which is an interesting topic as well. So let me tap into your lead auditor experiences here, and maybe you can tell us, what's the common readiness gaps do you see when organizations first try to operationalize AI governance, and how can they prepare for certification and actually using that as well for managing third-party AI risk?
So I think I can tell you that the primary failing is the shift from managing systems to governing autonomous decisions. Organizations fail because they treat AI governance as an IT checklist, not a holistic management system. The readiness gaps we consistently see come down to scope and control. The auditor's nightmare to
Yeah.
critical gaps. Yeah, the invisible inventory, the scope gap. Yeah, the organizations, I think, believe lack a centralized risk classified AI inventory. You cannot govern what you cannot see. When the audit begins, the clients cannot often provide a complete list of their AI systems, let alone documented evidence of the intended use, risk treatments. Without the initial scope, the certification process stops immediately. Then the accountability void, the third party risk. Weak oversight of third party AI vendors is often like one of the most significant emergent risks. Most organizations simply rely on standard IT contracts. We find a critical lack of understanding of the vendors' AI controls, like their models, data lineage, update cycles, adversarial robustness. You are outsourcing the model, but you are retaining the risk. So to pass certification and genuinely manage risk, the preparation must focus on auditable evidence and clear boundaries. Like immediately establish an AI asset catalog that can tie every system to a risk score, intended use documentation, like into a single accountable owner. Then basically I can call out for standardized life cycle documentation. AI system impact assessments should be performed as required outputs of MLOps pipeline. Then extend the firewall to vendors. Integrate AI specific evaluation criteria into your TPRM workflow. The contracts must explicitly require vendors to prove data lineage, transparency, robustness for any AI system they provide. Then conduct the rigorous internal pre-audits. This confirms the traceability of your evidence, stress test your risk tiering methodology, and ensure that your governance structure can withstand external scrutiny before formal certification body arrives.
Yeah. Oh, great advice. Yeah, that's good to know. And I see that myself, having done many audits myself. I can see that, yeah, there's a lot of frustrations of organizations that use sort of that like you say, that checklist system and yeah, it can be an auditor's frustrations. So yeah, really appreciate that. So now, I always like to sort of wrap things up a little bit with what I call my crystal ball round. And this is where, you just from your experiences, doesn't have to be tied to any particular procedure policy, but just looking ahead 3 to 5 years, what do you think is going to be the single biggest shift in how organizations govern, AI, and something you believe will be fundamentally reshaped in how we think about trust, accountability, and compliance in AI systems? How do you see this all playing out 3 to 5 years from now?
The single biggest shift I can think of in this core area will be the transition from periodic document based compliance to real time trust by design governance, driven by algorithmic assurance ledger that we can call. In 3 to 5 years, trust and accountability will be fundamentally reshaped by continuous control assurance. I think audits will shift from annual snapshots to continuous ongoing evidence of model behavior in the real world. Currently, if we talk about certain reports or to type 1, they are annual snapshots. I believe this will become a mandatory thing to embed automated controls, real time fairness and robustness check directly into MLOps pipelines. Then also the algorithmic accountability built on immutable like ledger technologies will record every high risk decision, data change, and policy check as an unalterable transaction. Basically, moving accountability from a retrospective who signed the PDF question to a proactive cryptographic proof of governance execution. The complexity, third would I would call out would be the complexity of using vendor AI will force third parties to provide transparency through their own algorithmic assurance ledgers. Compliance will rely on querying this secure ledger for the model's lineage, training provenance, and live performance metrics, verifiable supply chain audit. Basically, the core change would be trust is no longer asserted by paperwork, it is proven by code integrity.
Yeah, sounds good. It's interesting, yeah, to even think about this. It's going so fast, it's almost hard to predict what's going to happen with AI, but it's good to know everybody's little take on things. It's been a great conversation. I would, I guess, just ask if people want to get a hold of you, is LinkedIn sort of the best way to do that, or what would be? We
Yeah,
don't want
LinkedIn
to.
would be the best way. Yeah, I
Yeah,
would love to connect.
we don't want to fill your inbox with a bunch of a bunch of questions. They can get a hold of you LinkedIn and go from there. Or if you can also contact us at CSA cloudsecurityalliance.org, and we could hook you up as well if you're having any issues. Get a hold of Tanya. So that's fantastic. Look at our, you can also on the website. There's just a huge amount of information in terms of AI, from the AI Safety Initiative to our TASE training. This is our AI training initiative, to, of course, the STAR for AI, which incorporates 42001 and the AICM. So yeah, it's a very timely discussion, and really appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule, especially with the holidays coming upon us, to take time out to have this discussion. And just, thank you very much for joining us today. And as things progress, I'm sure there's going to be a sequel to this somewhere down the road. So yeah, really appreciate it. Have a great rest of your week and weekend.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank